Welcome back to the lab, y'all. It is your old Professor Pilk, and as you guys may or may not know, tomorrow we are finally getting the Rillaboom raid that we've basically been waiting on for 2 weeks. Now, there are a couple mon that I've built for this. Per usual, I built 2 mon that are pretty easy to build for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and 2 that are kind of off-the-wall, weird, crazy builds. So, let's just jump in. Let's talk about them. First and foremost, I think this is easily the best build. Now, what I'm operating off of here is that we're going to have either drum beating or woodhammer, most likely drum beating. Acrobatics, that's been one of the most contested moves, but I think it makes sense. I think acrobatics is about the only thing that's really going to stop you from just, basically bringing any fighting unit and just wrecking it out. So I think acrobatics is most likely going to be there. That's going to be the big kicker that kicks out a lot of these builds that I've been seeing. Stomping Tantrum. I thought maybe Earthquake, but someone pointed out that Stomping Tantrum has quite a few things with it that will make it more powerful than Earthquake, so Stomping Tantrum is very likely. And then Body Slam would be the normal move that's going to be almost guaranteed to be relevant. So, here's the thing. Those are the moves that I'm assuming that Rillaboom's going to have. I don't necessarily have the best track record here, but I'm trying to think what would give us the most coverage. So, here's the build with Corviknight. Now, Corviknight is base a Flying Steel, and I've given this one a Steel Tera. Mirror Armor is the ability, and that basically means that any negative stat change will actually be turned into a positive stat change. Per usual, we've given Shell Bell, and I think every build tonight is going to have Shell Bell, just because we don't have enough healing moves in a lot of these. Otherwise, we could use, Big Root or Metronome or something like that, but really Shell Bell is going to be our go-to item tonight. Now, one of the best moves for this event is going to be Reflect. So move number 1 for Corviknight and for half of the builds that I put together are Reflect. And that's because if you look here at the stats, we have a 125 base physical attack stat and no special attack at all. So you can pretty much guess that every single attack is going to be physical. So once you put up Reflect, that doubles your defensive stat. Then you could do a Bulk Up. You could do Metal Claw for a steel move, or Body Press, actually, for a fighting move. That does mean that Corviknight, yes, can use a fighting move to try to inflict some damage. Metal Claw, on the other hand, once you terastallize, will be your stab move and will really knock the opponent for a loop. Remember, you do have to terastallize at some point. The downside is once you do that, you're going to open yourself up to a slew of problems because you really need to make sure that your defenses are top-notch and that Reflect is all the way up. If you do not, then some of those attacks are going to start hurting bad. Corviknight's going to lose a lot of his defense once that happens. Because if you don't know, Corviknight resists just about everything here. He's neutral to ground. He's going to resist everything else. Corviknight is really kind of like your top-notch mon for this event, assuming that I'm right with the build up above. So that's the Corviknight build. A lot of fun. The next Pokemon that I built here is Dragapult. Now, I think Dragapult is another really good choice here. Dragapult has a ton of resistance. Dragapult will essentially be immune to neutral once again. Will resist both grass. Will be neutral on flying and ground, so you do have to watch out for those a little bit. But the nice part is normal and grass are the 2 attacks that are going to have stabs, so those are the ones you really, really, really need to watch out for. Flying doing normal damage will be okay because once again we're going to put up Reflect and then we're going to use Dragon Dance to increase our damage output. And Dragon Darts actually has turned out to be one of the best moves here because Dragon Darts becomes a base 100 move. It is a base 50, but it hits twice. So Dragon Darts, do not underestimate that move. Worst comes to worst, you can just use Dragon Rush. And that's kind of our backup move. Now, if there's one thing that you guys may or may not have noticed here, and that's simply that we do not have a lot of healing. So once again, we are using Shell Bell as our item and Cursed Body for our ability, because Cursed Body is essentially Cursed Body will essentially disable and Cursed Body for our ability, because Cursed Body is going to disable whatever move it's hit with. So, the nice part about this, say for the sake of argument, you're hit with a flying move. It's a physical move. It's going to be a physical move. that's suddenly disabled. Ground move, it's hit with that move, that's suddenly disabled. Now, probably will be able to go back and forth on those, but that's really going to frustrate your opponent, and most likely, maybe, we'll be able to trick them into using either a normal move or a grass move. So I think Dragapult is going to be a really, really, really solid mod for this. Dragon Tera, Shell Bell, Curse Body, and the moveset as you see here. So Hisuian Goodra is a very strange build for an event like this. Hisuian Goodra, I think, will be able to tank a lot of hits, and Hisuian Goodra has a lot of resistance. Hisuian Goodra, very specifically, is resistant to everything except ground. Now, ground will be super effective, but I do feel like with acid armor, you will be able to tank enough of those hits so it's not super scary. Also, remember, you're going to be using Shell Bell here, and that's going to be able to restore some health. Now, Sap Sipper, the really nice part about Sap Sipper is that if you're hit with a grass move, especially early on, or after you get your Dragon Tera, Sap Sipper will have I believe it's just a chance. Or no, actually I take that back. It's guaranteed to increase attack one stage for every grass type hit you get. So it's going to be a really, really good ability here. Now, once again, once you have Acid Armor and Tearful Look set up properly, you can use a combination of Body Press to do some fighting damage that will be super effective, or Dragon Pulse that is going to have a stab effect, and once you're terastallized, Dragon Pulse is going to have that extra boost from the Tera type. So that's when your Shell Bell will really start doing some major healing. It's a bit of a risky build, but I think it will pay off. But you really got to make sure you're outputting that, and you really kind of have to entice Rillaboom into doing some grass moves, which I think he will do. So that is my Hisuian Goodra build. Hisuian Goodra. Now, the one thing you guys need to know is that with Hisuian Goodra, in order to get Acid Armor, you will have to teach that to Sligo and then evolve your Goodra. What you can do is you can actually make your life easy. You can actually get a Goomy from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, transfer it via Pokemon Home over to, this is exactly how I built mine actually, transfer it over to Legends Arceus, get it up to a Sligo, let it learn Acid Armor, and then move that back over to Scarlet and Violet and continue in doing your leveling and all your work from there. Just make sure it has Acid Armor as a Sligo. If it does not, you're going to run into some problems. But pretty easy build. I like this one a lot. Finally, and of course, we have to have a legendary build here, and this one's way out of the box. I don't think anyone sees this one coming. That is Thundurus. Now, Thundurus is an electric flying type and has a ton, and I mean a ton, of resistances that are going to help you out big time here. So, ground it's immune to ground types. It's going to resist grass and resist flying. Normal type moves will do normal damage, but that's just normal damage. The really nice part is here, you've got a Shell Bell to do some healing, you've got Nasty Plot to increase your damage output, and because we're going to get this an electric Tera type, you also have electric terrain. So essentially, once you're built up enough, you've got electric terrain. Once the shield is put up, you terastallize and just hammer it out on Thunderbolt. You'll be able to just do an insane amount of damage. Now, I did put Hammer Arm on here because Hammer Arm is a fighting move that is going to be really, really good. Thundurus actually has a 125 special attack stat, but a 115 attack stat. So you will be able to produce a good amount of damage. If you do have his other form, you can get 145 special attack, but the downside is you're not going to be able to get a huge amount of healing out. You really need that Shell Bell for the healing. So, Defiant Ability, Shell Bell, Nasty Plot, Electric Terrain. You can either use Hammer Arm or Focus Blast. Either one of those will work. I just don't like Focus Blast because it's got really low accuracy, but it is a 120 base power move. So you can either do Hammer Arm with the physical, which will do a little bit less damage, well, a lot of it less damage, but is a lot more likely to hit. Or you can go full on into Focus Blast and risk it on the 70% with a much higher damage output. But for me, Thunderbolt was my go-to DPS. Those are my builds. 2 I think normal builds, 2 fairly out of the box builds. I've seen some other builds, but I really think for those of you guys that are thinking to just bring a fighting type in here, I honestly feel like acrobatics is going to ruin your days. So maybe I'm wrong, and I have been wrong in the past, but that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Like, comment, share, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys for more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet coming up really soon.